Hello and welcome as we continue our journey into the world of interviews. Today, I play the role of the hiring manager. Generally speaking, as a hiring manager, there's certain things, and this is one of the biggest mistakes. A lot of times people come to the interview saying and thinking what they think. They're looking at things from their perspective. But when you're in the interview with a hiring manager, you want to see things from my perspective. I'm the one who is going to make a decision whether to hire you or not. There's certain things going in my mind. Some go on paper when I evaluate you, some don't go on that paper, but it's going to help make a decision whether we hire you or not. So always in the interview, you want to keep in mind what or why is the hiring manager asking me this question? What are they going to do with that data? And think about it from their perspective as well. That's very important. I remember one time we had someone, and I knew this person personally before the interview, but that person went into an interview with a different group. They had a PhD in their field. Everybody said that person was amazing in answering the questions. When it came to technical questions, perfect answers. One by one, nailed it. And then towards the end, he was asked a question. And the question was, can you tell us about your weakness? And he said, my weakness is I'm terrible with time. I never get things done on time. I struggle with time management. All the answers through the whole hour of the interview were perfect, technical, strong. Everybody loved them. But guess what the hiring manager's decision was because of that one answer? Of course, that person has a PhD, which meant he knew what time is and the value of time, and he got a lot of things done on time. But the way he expressed it in that interview basically guaranteed that he was never going to get hired for that job. So you want to think as you're interviewing with me, the hiring manager, how I think. That's very important. I've heard it so many times from my friends in real life saying, well, they never called me back after the interview with the hiring manager, or they did not call me after I interviewed with the hiring manager because I am overqualified, or because I am black, or because I don't have this accent or that accent. I've been in corporate America over 20 years, and especially when it comes to IT, I can definitely say I've never faced those problems. I haven't seen it. I've seen a lot of our students and co-workers be hired and go to interviews and nailing it. It has nothing to do, almost never ever has anything to do with your race, your background, your accent, or you being overqualified. It has to do with how you present yourself in the interview. So that's why it's very important to think when you go to the hiring manager, what does the hiring manager want? Why are they asking those questions? How could I impress the heck out of them? So the first thing is, as a hiring manager, I don't expect you to know everything. And that's a big fallacy. A lot of people look at the job description and they think that they have to know everything and anything. And that's why they're so nervous, because what if he or she asked me of something that I don't know? That's perfectly fine. We don't expect you to know. Every day in IT, there's a new version and a new release and integrating with a new system. We don't expect you to know everything. We're not that technical. Hiring managers don't work every day on the computer, but they expect you, and this is very important, they expect you to be able to learn and work and coordinate to make sure that you're able to do that job. Okay, so we don't expect you to know everything. We might ask you about a couple of things you never heard about, don't have experience, but we want that answer that you're going to bounce back and do great. A good example is one time I was in an interview with someone, and it was about a technology. And I knew that that was a new release. I knew that that was a new release. Nobody has worked with it in the world. It's just something that just came out. So we had two people. Number one was someone that was technical, had good experience. Number two, someone that was technical but had less experience. The first one had more experience. The second one had less experience. So the last question that I asked me and the interviewing team was, have you worked with XYZ? And it was a new version of something that I knew nobody in the world has even worked with it, pretty much. So A, the one that had more experience, said, no, I haven't. B, who has less experience and has proven that he has less experience up until this point, said, if this is something that is needed of me, I am a quick learner. I am a quick study. I will learn it. I'll be very proficient in it in a very short time. For example, when I was working on this project, we needed this. They were introducing new technology. In a matter of days, I researched it. I played with it. I downloaded the trial version. In a couple of weeks, I was proficient in it. So if this is something that you need, I guarantee you, I will know it. Well, both of them basically said, we don't know it. But guess who we hired? It was the second one. Because the second one, again, we knew doesn't know everything, but showed us the attitude that we're looking for as hiring managers. Second thing, teamwork. As a hiring manager, the last thing we want in the world is for someone to come and complain about their coworkers. Again, there are certain lines that should not be crossed. We're not talking about those lines. We're talking just generally about, well, so and so came late and so was 5 minutes in doing this assignment and 5 minutes into that. Things that we as a team could fix together professionally. We want the least amount of noise. We have a lot of work to focus on. We want you to focus on your work and let's all get things done. So we're going to ask a lot of questions that have to do with teamwork, good communication skills, and how we can psychologically think that you have less concern. So whether we ask you about, do you like to work with a team or work by yourself? Or whether we ask you questions about why are you leaving your current job? We're trying to find out, do you have problems with your last manager? Swear to God, I was in an interview where a person did an amazing job for about 45 minutes. 45 minutes, this person was answering question after question. As for a Java developer position, did perfect. The last question, and there's 4 hiring managers in there, in addition to myself. One of the managers asked him and said, well, why are you leaving your current job? He said, me and my manager don't get along. Me and manager got into this argument and he doesn't understand me and he doesn't appreciate me. So all the managers looked at each other. They're like, I know it. I know it. I mean, I really was wanting that person to get the job, but when I looked at it, I knew I was outvoted. I knew those 4 managers are like, if you're creating problems there and have communication problems with your manager, more than likely that drama is going to come in here as well. So always remember that as a hiring manager, a big part of what we want, number one, you don't know everything, but you're willing to work. You're willing to learn. You've learned before, improve yourself. Number 2, teamwork, that you have good communication skills. You're supportive. You like to cross train and train with your team and support your team. And if they're running behind on things, that you're going to get things done. Number 3, as a manager, I'm the one that reports to the vice president and the president of the company. If there's something that's wrong and my team doesn't deliver, they don't chew you or chew you out. They chew me out. So what am I cared about is delivering on time, that everything is completed in time, delivered on time. So I'm going to ask you about, are you independent? Do you finish things on work? Are you able to prioritize your work? So there's a lot of questions to make sure that when I give you something and you say you're going to do it, I don't care about the details. But I just want to make sure when you say at Friday at 8 o'clock, it's going to be done, that Friday at 7:59, you're wrapping it up, and at 8 o'clock, it's done 100%. So time effectiveness, there's going to be a lot of questions about dependency and stuff like that. Another thing also is about critical attitude. Generally speaking, there has to be some form of flexibility. As a manager, I'm restricted by a lot of things. I have a budget. I wish I could buy all the greatest software in the world. You want this reporting tool? You want this cloud tool? You want this business intelligence tool? You want this development language? Sure, I want to give you the world. I want you to work with all the software that you have. But guess what? I have a budget. My budget is X amount of dollars every quarter. So I can't buy all the software that you want. You need time to do this and do that, and you can create the greatest dashboard and integration and development and whatever. Yes, I'm restricted with a schedule. You want to work with this, and well, I have a team, and that's the only team that we can work with. Technology, well, this is the only technology that we have. So as a manager, I'm restricted with budget, a schedule, a team that I expect you to work with. And that's why it's very important that you are able to give recommendations, but for you to also be able to adjust and not be overcritical or you know, a lot of times, sometimes, you know, in IT, sometimes we get so technical that we get insultive, for lack of a better word. We start insulting our managers, and manager doesn't understand, and we need to do this, and project management doesn't understand, and you know, the vice president doesn't understand. Again, companies, managers were restricted by budgets, schedules, teams, technology. And so we need someone that appreciates that and is able to work. Yes, they come with the brilliant recommendations. Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? But if that recommendation is adopted, great. If it's shut down, that you're flexible enough to continue doing your great work. So now let's look at some of the questions that normally, as a hiring manager, we're going to ask you. First, we always start, so you can see the first one here, we always start by telling you about the company. We always start by telling you about the company. And usually we expect you to be excited. We're looking at your excitement level. So usually we would start by saying something such as, our company, such as Kinsey Tech, has grown in the last year. We had 100 customers. We've grown to 500 customers. Our, you know, our revenue has grown from 200,000 to 500,000. And we'll keep talking, try to entice you and get you excited about working with us. Imagine one of your best friends goes to Macy's and there's a, dress or pants or whatever that was $100, and now they just found it for $5. They're telling you, hey, it was $100 and it's just down for $5. And all you do is just say, okay. No, we expect you to be a little bit excited. We're telling you all this information to get you excited. So as we're talking in the beginning about the company and how much it's grown and what it's doing, please take a moment to not interrupt necessarily, but make a, just make a pitch that you're interested, you're excited. This is getting you more excited about joining the company. So when we're talking about welcome to the interview and welcome to Kinsey Tech, at Kinsey Tech, we've grown from 100 customers to 600 customers. You can quickly say, wow, that's very interesting. And by the way, our revenue has grown from 500,000 to 2.5 million the last 3 years. Now I really want to be, just jump in and make a quick comment. Wow, you got me excited. Now I really like to work for this company. Little comments in there, with a positive attitude, with a little laugh, will get us excited about interviewing you, change the mood, because we just got to, we're not just sitting there all day waiting for your interview. We're in a meeting and we got called into this interview. So when when we say something and you laugh or you throw in a little comment that's interesting and exciting and in a funny way, you get us more relaxed, more happy. You're more relaxed, you're more happy. Next question is, describe an average day at work. Again, hiring managers in IT are not necessarily the most technical people. They oversee different teams. So they need they know a little bit about Java, but not everything. A little bit about the CRM, Salesforce Dynamics, but not everything. A lot of, a little bit about the BI, the SSRS and Tableau and Power BI, but not everything. So you don't need to get very deep, but you want to put a big range of the things that you do. So if they ask you, describe what you do in the workplace, let's say I'm a Salesforce administrator, then I'll give a high level of saying, well, as a Salesforce administrator, I have a lot of experience with creating apps and customizing objects and validation rules. I also work and develop valuable. This is something that's important. It's called ROI, return on investment. We're going to hire you. We want to pay you $100,000 or more or less. Why? Because how you're going to help the business. So you're an investment for us. What are we going to get in return? What's our return on investment when we pay you that money? So don't just talk about technical things when you speak to the hiring manager. Talk about how it helped the business. So notice when I talk about process automation and when I talk about reports and dashboards, I'm not just going to say I'll create it technically. I'm going to talk about the value to the business. So let me answer that question again. Describe an average day at the workplace for you. Absolutely. I have X amount of years as a Salesforce administrator, where I've created multiple apps, objects, and validation rules. I've also developed powerful reports and dashboards that are very valuable to our business and our vice president, which have helped in increasing revenue by 10% and forecast more accurately. I've also done a lot of process automation, which has automated a lot of the tasks that used to take hours every day from our sales and marketing teams. Now they're fully automated, generate a lot of emails, reports, and responses, which has just proven very valuable to the business. Security, I handle the roles and the profiles and the users, which is very important, as you know, the value of security. Also, I work as a business analyst where I meet with the stakeholders, and I enjoy working with the stakeholders, gathering requirements, putting it in the BRD, because that way we develop exactly what they're looking for. I'm also involved in the development cycle. I'm involved in the UAT, user acceptance testing, creating the UAT forms to ensure that we deliver exactly what the business has required from us, and the stakeholders and the subject matter experts are happy with what we deliver to them. So notice I gave in my answer technical stuff, but also the value to the business, that I care about the stakeholders and work closely with them, that my reports and dashboards were very valuable, process automation, and so on. Now let's go to another question. Tell me about a challenge or conflict you've faced at work and how you dealt with it. Why is this important? It's important because I'm actually not worried about the challenge you had before, whatever that challenge is. I don't care what it is. You couldn't do this, you couldn't do that, it was hard for you. I'm worried when you work with me, you're going to find challenges. Are you going to be able to overcome those challenges? When you work with us and you face challenges, are you going to be able to overcome those challenges? So what am I going to do in my answer? Or what would I like to hear in your answers? Yeah, you had a challenge, you overcame it. But now when you join this company, you are going to be able to overcome challenges in the future as well. So let's take an example. And me answering the question, I'm going to answer it by saying, well, yes. When I first started working, or when Salesforce started introducing flows, for example, with process automation, it was the first time that I worked with flows. I had to research it and go to Trailhead and Google it. I created a developer account and sandboxes where I went in and created flow after flow until I became an expert in flows. And this is how I deal with all the challenges that I face. I love to research them, investigate them, try them out, and overcome them. I love overcoming challenges. So any challenge that I face, I will overcome it and enjoy it. Now you assured me not only that you overcome one, but in the future, when you face challenges working with us, you're the right person to hire. What would you do if a coworker falls behind in schedule? Again, we're thinking about the psychology. What's the issue? The issue is I don't want you in my office every single minute snitching on your teamwork or your team members. I want you to help them. However, if we're going to fall behind on a schedule, I need to know about it. So I want you to help them if you can, but if as long as we don't fall on behind schedule. But if we're going to fall behind schedule, okay, make sure you do what you need to do to let us know. So the answer should be something like this: how do you communicate? Well, what would you do if a coworker fall behind in schedule? My answer is, if a coworker fall behind in schedule, first, once I'm done with my priorities, I would love to sit with them and help them in whatever way that I can. And I've done that so many times in the past because I love training and I love supporting my team members. However, if I feel we're not going to be able to meet our delivery schedule, then in that case, I'll escalate it to the manager and we'll let the manager know. Notice I said we will let the manager know, not just me. How do you communicate in meetings, communicate with coworkers, stakeholders? Now, the word communication in today's world means multiple things. It means meetings. It means online meetings, Zoom and Teams and GoToMeetings. And it also means documentation, SOPs, BRDs. Those are a way that people communicate. People now have a document. You send it out to a development team called the BRD. That's their requirements, or the SOP, which is the standards of how we use the system. And that is a great form of communication. So when I'm asked, how do you communicate in meetings? I want you to mention all those three. That I communicate with my coworkers, with my managers through, first and foremost, we're going to talk about the verbal communication. So in meetings, the online communication. So now I'm going to say meetings, such online meetings as well, such as Zoom and Teams. Documentation. So now we're going to talk about BRDs, business requirements documents, SOPs, standard operating procedures, and of course, emails, the good old way fashion. What are some of your team building skills? That's a question that's asked because we want to find out, how do you work with the team? That's very important for managers. You're going to be there 8 hours a day, 9 hours, maybe sometimes even more, working with people. How can we make sure that you guys communicate and we don't have a lot of issues? So this is where I love to support my team, work with my team, coordinate with my team, document for my team, all the different ways, cross-training with my team. So you want to show that you're that team player. Next, describe your project management skills. Describe your experience in project management. This question could be asked about, how do you like to work by yourself, or how do you make sure that you deliver on things? So there's certain words that show us that you understand how to manage yourself. And usually that's in a project plan. So just that you have a visualization of what I'm going to say, when I'm working on a project, I usually have something such as this, that has this stage that I'm working on the SDLC, usually in a sprint. Again, we divide it usually about a month plus or minus, where we gather requirements initially, design, develop, and then do our UATs, user acceptance, and then we deploy. So every task that I'm working on, I usually describe what my tasks are. Who is it assigned to? Is it something that I work on by myself? Am I working with a team on it? Priorities. I want to make sure I hit the high priorities first. Dependencies. Does something depend on something else? If it does, I need to know what it is so I can talk to that person or communicate that to that person. Hey, I can't start working on this unless you're finished with what you're working on. And then, of course, put a start date, an end date, or an expect to finish, and then keep the actual date when I finished. Hopefully, I'm finishing ahead of schedule, on a schedule. And then if there's any references or links of things that I need to go to. So when I'm asked about my project management skills, or how do you prioritize things, or how do you make sure you get things done on time, I describe that format mentally in my mind, that I usually classify the task that I have, the priority of the task, who all is working on it or who it's assigned to, the start date, the end date, the dependencies, and I start based on the priorities. So you want to draw that kind of a project plan mentally to the hiring manager. What are your strengths and what are your weakness? Well, your strength, I hope you're able to describe yourself confidently. You'll be surprised how many times we ask people, describe your strength, and they actually stutter. My strength is I enjoy, what we really want from you is a strong answer. So when you're asked, what is your strength? I am very detail oriented. I am very this, and it's things that are very sharp and expected. So practice that question before you answer my question. I want to get specific answers, things that you're proud about, that when I listen to it's going to resonate. I'm very technical. I love challenges, overcome. I have great communication skills. I love working with a team. I like to challenge myself. I always like to technically be, certain things that describe you that are going to be exciting to me as a hiring manager. So this question is also important because don't think about it from your way, think about it from my way. Suppose I'm hiring a Java developer. We might ask the question, what are your hobbies? And the person starts talking about, well, my hobbies, I love to play soccer and I'm excellent soccer. And on the weekends, I play FIFA. Beautiful answer. But is that what I'm thinking of? I'm thinking about work. A lot of times people ask, does it matter if it's work related or personal? And we say, we don't care. And usually people go on the personal. I love to garden and I like to garden this and garden that. And we laugh about it. But you want to take advantage. The interview is where you're selling yourself to the hiring manager. You want to tell them the position that you have, I'm very qualified for it and I'm very interested in it. So when we ask you about your hobby or about your strength, be ready to tell us about something technical that you're going to run with. My hobby, if it's a Java position, is I love Java. Even on the weekends, I'm part of a Java support group where we're creating this code and doing this. I love challenges. I love to get certifications, renew my certifications. Now I'm excited to hire you even more. My stress in the very detail oriented. I enjoy speaking to stakeholders, gathering the requirements, ensuring we deliver exactly what they're looking for. I care about the business and growing the revenue and forecast. Whatever you're applying for, make sure your strength is sharp towards that position. What's your weakness? Like I gave an example earlier, you don't want to give a weakness that's an actual weakness that's going to make you look weak. So a lot of times people give an answer and it's very acceptable. A lot of people say, my weakness is I'm a workaholic. I work all the time. Even when I'm at work, I'm so much into IT and the field that I'm in that even on the weekends, I'm sitting with my friends and I'm thinking of that Power BI or that Tableau report that I can create and how I can design it and actually go in on my phone and start putting some notes. And my family is always telling me, hey, this is family time, log off. That's my weakness. I'm a workaholic. Well, you definitely got me intrigued. Okay. So sometimes you need to think about how you can present things and say things very carefully. All right. Now, the next question is describe a time you disagreed with a decision that was made at work or a stressful situation. So remember, again, as a manager, I have a budget, I have a schedule. Yes, I wish we could do things your way. Maybe your decision is a million times better than my decision, but this is the budget we're working with. This is the schedule we're working with. Or your team has different experience. There's a product that's a Microsoft product. There's a product that's an Oracle product. There's a product that's a Salesforce product, and they all do the same thing. Or emails. Should we go with Gmail or Yahoo Mail or MSN Mail or Outlook Mail? They all do the same thing. So the company decides to go with A, and you think B is better. So a lot of times people take it personal. This is better, and I've proven it, and I've done this research, and I'm certified in it. At work, as a manager, what we're looking for is someone that is supportive of the business decision. So that's why when you ask you about if you disagree with a decision or something a manager made or a coworker made, or you came up with a recommendation, it's refused, you always want to stress what we want to hear, which is my number one priority is the business. Is how to support the business. What is the business decision? So I will make my recommendations, but whatever the business decides, I will support it. I will make my recommendations based on my experience and knowledge, whatever technical it is. I do PowerPoint presentations, but at the end of the day, whatever the business decides, I will support it 100%. And that shows that I never take things personal. If we disagree, we disagree. I give you my recommendations. You make the decision that's best for the business, and I support that 100%. What is special about you? Why should we hire you? What is your greatest professional achievement? Have a story ready for your strength, for your hobby, for your professional achievements. Why we should hire you? Have a story ready. Don't have a copy paste answer. Copy paste answer is because I am very good at what I do. If we're looking for a Power BI or business intelligence or a Tableau developer, don't just come in and say, I'm an excellent BI developer. Well, guess what? Everybody that applied for that job said exactly what you said. What makes you different? That's the extra line that we're going to throw there. Why should we hire you? What is special about you? You want to give the answer that everybody's going to say, which is I'm the best in this technical thing, but throw something a little bit extra in there. Flavor it a little bit. Now, here's a trick question. Do you prefer to work with a team or work by yourself? You like to work by yourself or work with a team? And there's a little bit of psychology next to this, which is sometimes people answer and say, I like to work with a team. And they think it's a great answer, what we're looking for. Yes, we want you to be able to work with a team. But usually when somebody says, I always work with a team, I love working with a team, I can't work without a team, it means they're not technical enough. They're not able to do things on their own. And now the opposite. Somebody says, I like to work by myself. I always work by myself. Well, that's very good. It means you're very technical, but you don't have teamwork, and you're going to create a lot of problems with our teams. The right answer for a hiring manager usually is, or the optimal answer is, it depends on the project. If the part of the project requires that I work with a team, I am a great team player. I'm a great team supporter. I love to work with a team and make sure that me and my team meet our goal. However, in some projects, I need to work by myself. And if there's a part of a project where I need to work by myself, I am very technically sharp, and I'm very skilled in project management, and I will make sure to get my tasks done exactly the way that it's required on the schedule that it's required. So the right answer is, it depends on the project. Some project need to work with a team. I'll work with a team. I'm a great team player. Sometimes it requires that I work by myself. I'm very technical, very sharp, very dependent. I will get it done by myself. Where do you see yourself in 5 years? Again, there's what the manager thinks, and then there is what I think. I remember one time we're interviewing someone for an Oracle database administrator job. They had an excellent resume. They did excellent in the interview. We got them in and we asked them, what would you like to do 5 years from today? And the answer was, this is for an Oracle database administrator job. They said, in 5 years from today, I would love to be the manager for the project management team, because actually I love project management. I'm working on my PMP degree, We show that they're very motivated, but should we hire them? Absolutely. They were not hired. Why not? Because we're trying to hire an Oracle database administrator, and you want to be a project manager. Good for you. Best of luck, but it's not what we're hiring for. It's not what we need. We need someone to be a database administrator for the next 5 years. So when we're asked about, or when you're asked by the hiring manager about, where do you see yourself 5 years from today? You want to show that you're going to be the best person in this position. Of course, your aspirations is to grow and get promoted and grow with the company and different departments, but you want to show that you're excited about this current position. So if it's an Oracle database administrator, where do you see yourself 5 years from today? I want to be the best Oracle database administrator in the company. I want to make sure I have all the certifications. I want to make sure that I'm able to support people, and anybody that has any issues, that I'm able to support them with. The database is fine-tuned and perfectly optimized, that it meets that. You want to show you're excited about the position and dedicated to the position you're applying for, not something out of it. Even though all of us have aspirations to grow, and it happens a lot of the times. Usually towards the end of the interview, we end by saying, do you have any question for us? The hiring manager would always ask the question, do you have a question for me or for us? In case there's more than one person. And usually people like to have conversations. Well, when are you going to get back to me? Well, based on the workload that you have, how many hours a day am I going to be working? Well, but at that point, we haven't made the decision to hire you. And usually the manager just came from a meeting to interview you. And after we're done with you, we're going to go back to another meeting and finish all the other stuff that we have to do. So a lot of times we don't have those answers. We're trying to be polite, and we're going to answer your questions. So we're going to say, yeah, of course, usually there's going to be 7-8 hours of this. And when are you guys going to back to me? Well, we're still going to hire a couple more people. They're going to go through HR. Maybe, as soon as the process is, we're trying to answer your questions, but honestly, we don't have all the answers at this point. We haven't made the decision to hire you yet. So when you're asked about, which is the last question in all the interviews, do you have any question for me as the hiring manager? Show interest in the hiring manager. What does that mean? Ask them the question. When I say, again, I'm going to interview 3 or 4 people for this position. After a while, I might have some notes, but forget who and who. You want to stick out. You want to be that person that I always remember. So show interest in the hiring manager. And that's why you end usually by asking the question. When I say, do you have a question for me? You ask the question. Absolutely, yes. How long have you been with the company? And what do you like the most about working there? How long have you been with the company? And what do you like the most about being there? Why? Because I'm going to answer by saying I've been with the company for 6 months, for 6 years, for 60 years. You coordinate me to say only what I like about the company. What I like about the company is there's a lot of room for growth, and it's grown quite a bit, and position and this. And at the end, what are you going to do? You're going to go for the slam dunk and you're going to sell yourself one more time. You're going to say, wow, this is great. Now I'm really excited to join this company and I really appreciate your answer. Whatever strength that I'm going to say about the company, you want to use it to your advantage to end by saying, this is really good. And this is one more reason that I want to join the company. And I hope that I do. So you're selling yourself one more time. A, you showed appreciation to me by caring about me and saying, oh yeah, I want to know more about you and how long you've been with the company and what do you like the most about it? But more importantly, in addition to that, what did you do? You went for the slam dunk and sold yourself one more time in the interview. All right. Well, we wish you the best of luck with your hiring manager interview. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for joining us in today's session. We hope that you enjoyed it. And we'd like to invite you to a lot of our free sessions. Simply visit our website at kinseytech.com/events. Thank you again.